doing?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
I'm unaware of anybody, frankly, whose wife has been sexually harassed and has made jokes about that type of situation.
That night, from people in the room, we've spoken to several people who attended the special and then attended parties afterward, and the words that we heard were they were confused as to why they would be there and involved in this way.
Go back to that picture real quick. It's really interesting. A lot of them are just not looking at him at all, even though he's standing and talking. That's really interesting. And nobody's amused, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, they just thought it was puzzling that they would be out considering all the things that have been said.
Narrator. She did not listen. She did not take my advice at all. I said that having read through Blake Lively's complaint, that it was evident to me that she was likely under the influence when she filed her complaint. Not under the influence of drugs, not under the influence of alcohol, but of the influence of proximity to Taylor Swift. Maybe one Eras tour too many had been attended by her and Ryan, and they were just feeling like they were Taylor Swift. I just recognized her brand of feminism.
The times where people ignore the red flags and say, let's just keep pushing, those are the times where you fail. The majority of things that we're buying are created by men. You always learn more from your failures than you do your successes. I love creating, and I think that as women, you're not often given authorship.
Now you see text messages in this lawsuit from Blake Lively comparing herself to the heroine of Game of Thrones, the fiercest female character we've seen in years. That's her riding her dragon. She's the mother of dragons in Game of Thrones. And that's what Blake Lively says in a text message, that she too has her dragons, Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift. That's, again, believed to be the other person.
Blake Lively did not even read the book that the movie was based on.
Correct.
And we're not talking War and Peace. And then she wanted to, ixnayed all of the wardrobe choices, because when you're making a movie about a poor woman who's suffering from domestic violence, you want her to look like she has money.
Right.
That Blake said.
That's what she did.
She looks like she has money.
They say Hollywood is full of secrets. Well, guess what? One of those secrets might just have broken wide open. Ben Affleck, yes, the same Ben Affleck who's been under the spotlight for decades, has apparently thrown one serious accusation into the air. According to the latest buzz, he's implying that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds aren't just the smiley couple we see on red carpets. Oh no. Word on the street is that they've been managing relationships behind the scenes, setting people up, and even roping in unsuspecting stars for whatever twisted reason they see fit. The rumor swirling right now is that they didn't just do this to Justin Baldoni. They've allegedly got a whole history of pulling those strings, controlling more lives and careers than we ever realized. Now, this might sound outrageous. You might be thinking, hold on, that's not the Blake, Alma, and Ryan we know. They're practically the poster couple for lovey-dovey Hollywood success. But that's exactly why this revelation is so explosive. It challenges everything we thought we knew about them. So buckle up. We're about to dive into a swirling cesspool of allegations, leaked details, and contradictory statements, each one juicier than the last. And by the end, you might be asking yourself, have we been fooled by these two all along? So, let's start where the sparks first flew. Ben Affleck's reveal. It doesn't matter whether you're a super fan or a casual observer. When Affleck speaks, people pay attention. He's had a colorful career, a high-profile personal life, and an unpredictable way of handling drama. So when he casually dropped a few hints about Blake and Ryan's so-called manipulative streak, the world was bound to listen. From what's been leaked, Affleck didn't just say they introduced people to each other at dinner parties. He basically implied they orchestrated entire career moves under the guise of friendly hookups. That's a far cry from merely playing Cupid at a random get-together. If this is true, the question is why? Why would they care about who dates whom and, more importantly, how might that give them any advantage or power in Hollywood? Here's where it gets interesting. A handful of sources close to Affleck claim there are hush-hush tapes, or at least transcripts, of him describing certain pushy phone calls from either Blake or Ryan. Maybe both. These phone calls, according to the rumors, contain not-so-subtle suggestions that certain actors or actresses might be perfect for each other. And we're not talking about mild, "it'd be so cute if you guys hung out" suggestions. We're talking about the kind of push that sounds more like an order than a friendly nudge. Of course, we can't confirm these tapes exist. For all we know, they might be a total hoax. Still, the very possibility has fans and critics in a frenzy. Did Ben Affleck inadvertently poke a beehive he should have left alone? Or did he feel obligated to blow the lid off a pattern of behind the scenes? Meddling, one thing's for sure. Once this rumor took hold, it was like lighting a match in a room full of fireworks. Let's pump the brakes for a second and talk about the couple in question. Blake and Ryan, famously known for their witty banter on social media and their picture-perfect relationship, have always been treated like the golden standard of Hollywood romances. They're adorable on talk shows. They poke fun at each other online, and they appear to have a squeaky clean, charming aura that fans adore. But every coin has two sides, right? Behind the public smiles, at least according to these new allegations, they could be quietly pulling the puppet strings of other stars' lives. We all love to think of them as sweet, comedic, and downright philanthropic. But there are whispers that they might be a lot more power-hungry than they let on. And if there's any truth to this, it changes the entire narrative around them. It begs the question, have we been willingly duped by their irresistible comedic chemistry? Is that sunny disposition just a mask for a power couple that thrives on manipulating people into relationships and then basking in the chaos? This speculation might sound out there, but Hollywood is full of stories about A-listers doing everything within their power, no matter how scandalous, to stay on top. Could Blake and Ryan be the latest additions to that less than flattering club? Insiders who used to praise them for being down to earth have gone suspiciously silent since these rumors started. That's either a coincidence, or it's because nobody wants to cross the couple who supposedly has enough clout to take you down. And trust me, in an industry that runs on connections and alliances, silence often speaks louder than words. Now, let's tackle the first angle of this entire debacle. The reason Blake and Ryan might be engaging in this matchmaking game to begin with. Sure, people set up friends all the time, but usually that's just for fun or out of genuine concern for someone's happiness. The rumor about these two is that their motivation goes far beyond normal friendly intentions. Think publicity stunts, career leverage, or even controlling the narrative around certain projects. One theory making the rounds is that Blake and Ryan use these setups to position themselves as tastemakers in Hollywood circles. By successfully pairing certain actors or actresses, they supposedly gain favor and loyalty, thereby stacking up an arsenal of people who owe them big time. If you think about it, that's a genius move. If half of Tinseltown owes you for hooking them up with their spouse, or for saving their career by aligning them with someone else who's hot at the moment, you could, in theory, call in those favors whenever you please. Another angle is that they're absolutely addicted to the control factor. Let's be honest, Hollywood is a place of ego and influence, and some folks get a rush from manipulating how their peers live and work. Imagine having the power to mold headlines. So-and-so is dating so-and-so, all thanks to Blake and Ryan's fateful introduction. That keeps them in the spotlight, fueling the idea that they're the ultimate power couple who not only succeed in their own careers, but also orchestrate the success or downfall of others. It sounds manipulative, doesn't it? Or maybe you think it's just a harmless hobby that got blown way out of proportion. Either way, the sheer scale of these rumors, multiple alleged victims, repeated patterns, and hush-hush insider stories makes it hard to dismiss it all as mere tabloid chatter. And if you're wondering how Justin Baldoni fits into this, trust me, we're about to get there. If you've been keeping up with Hollywood gossip, you know the name Justin Baldoni from his heartfelt roles and positive public image. But apparently, behind that bright smile lurks a story he's not so proud of, one that allegedly involves none other than Blake and Ryan. According to the rumor, they set him up in a relationship or professional arrangement that later became a total nightmare. Some sources say it was romantic, others hint it was a professional pairing. Either way, it reportedly turned sour faster than milk left out in the summer sun. Could this be a one-time miscalculation on Blake and Ryan's part? Possibly. But the reason this matters is because it suggests a pattern, one that doesn't end in happily ever after, but in heartbreak, resentment, or even career-threatening drama. People are pointing to Justin's own public statements, where he vaguely talked about well-meaning friends who pushed him into situations he later regretted. At the time, nobody thought he might be pointing a finger at one of Hollywood's most beloved couples. Now, in hindsight, those cryptic remarks might have been the tip of a massive iceberg. And here's the kicker. Rumor has it that once the situation with Baldoni started to implode, Blake and Ryan washed their hands of it. They reportedly cut contact, leaving Baldoni to fend for himself in a mess they helped create. If that's the way things really went down, can you imagine how it must feel for someone like him, who's worked so hard to maintain a positive reputation, to suddenly be left holding the bag for a setup gone wrong? Of course, it's important to note that neither Justin Baldoni nor Blake and Ryan have openly confirmed these details. But the chatter is loud enough that silence from all parties starts to feel like it might be intentional. Sometimes you don't need an official statement to realize something fishy might be going on. So, if you've ever wondered whether an A-list couple could orchestrate entire relationships just for kicks or power, Justin Baldoni's story might be Exhibit A. This is where the floodgates really open. Justin Baldoni isn't the only name being tossed around as someone who fell prey to Blake and Ryan's alleged matchmaking fiascos. A few lesser-known actors have been whispered about, each with a story that sounds eerily similar. A call from Blake or Ryan, an introduction that seems too good to be true, and a subsequent roller coaster of drama that leaves them worse off than before. Imagine you're a rising star, eager for your big break. Suddenly you get an invite to a fancy event with Ryan Reynolds, who everyone adores for his humor, or Blake Lively, who's revered for her style and grace. You go starstruck and hopeful, only to later realize you've been maneuvered into a relationship or professional partnership that benefits them more than you. People in the industry are now speculating that these big-hearted gestures were actually calculated moves to keep certain projects afloat or certain co-stars in the limelight. Why aren't these potential victims speaking out more? Because in Hollywood, crossing a power couple like Blake and Ryan might be career suicide. They have connections everywhere, from big producers to top-tier directors. If you start pointing fingers at them, you could suddenly find yourself blacklisted. That fear keeps a lot of people silent. But the rumor mill is swirling that more individuals might come forward if Affleck's hints lead to a bigger, more public scandal. And trust me, if that dam breaks, we could be looking at some serious reputational damage for Blake and Ryan. Some insiders also note that people who do speak out tend to do it very anonymously, leaking small details to tabloids or gossip vloggers. It's a classic case of how Hollywood secrets leak. A whisper here, a hint there, and then suddenly the entire puzzle comes together in a story more dramatic than any script you'd see on the silver screen. The question is, will more so-called victims or behind-the-scenes witnesses get brave enough to stand up and say, yes, this happened to me too? Now, let's talk about one of the biggest reasons these rumors are so shocking. Blake and Ryan have carefully curated their public image for years. They're the comedic duo who roasts each other on birthdays, the philanthropic advocates who champion causes, and the red carpet sweethearts that even the most cynical Hollywood watchers find charming. So, how on earth does that gel with allegations of behind-the-scenes manipulation? Does any of this prove they're guilty as charged? Not definitively, but it does paint a picture of a couple so invested in controlling narratives, whether about themselves or others, that they'd go to great lengths to maintain appearances. And once you see that crack in the facade, it's hard to unsee it. Suddenly, every joke they make, every social media post that appears hilarious and sweet feels like it might be part of a bigger, more manipulative performance. By now, you're probably thinking, this is too wild to be true. Could they really be that manipulative behind closed doors? The truth is, we don't know, and that's what makes this story so gripping. It has all the elements of a top-tier Hollywood drama: beloved stars, hidden motives, scandalous setups, and a whistleblower, if you can call Ben Affleck that, who's just unhinged enough to speak out. Here's the real question we should be asking. If Blake and Ryan genuinely are orchestrating people's relationships for their own gain, what does that say about Hollywood in general? Are they just a symptom of a system where everyone's jockeying for power, or are they truly the masterminds some claim they are? As fans, we want to see them as the perfect couple who charm us from every screen. But the entertainment world might be a lot darker and more twisted than those glossy magazine covers suggest. If more evidence surfaces, leaked audio, suspicious text messages, or even direct testimonies, this scandal could grow into a full-blown reckoning. The internet loves a good downfall story, especially when it involves taking a seemingly flawless duo down a peg. People who once idolized them might feel betrayed, or they might even relish in the drama. On the flip side, there's still a chance that this is all smoke without fire, a rumor that got out of hand, fueled by speculation and personal grudges. So, where do we land? For now, it's up to you. Do you believe Ben Affleck's veiled statements and the swirling rumors around Justin Baldoni's negative experience? Or do you think it's nothing more than a wild conspiracy theory meant to tear down Hollywood's it couple? One thing's for certain, we'll be watching this story closely, waiting for the next leaked voicemail, the next cryptic post, or the next meltdown moment that might reveal something real behind all the chatter. Until then, keep your eyes peeled for any sudden shifts in how Blake and Ryan present themselves. And remember, sometimes the most charming faces hide the deepest secrets. If these allegations hold any weight, we could be on the cusp of one of the biggest unmaskings Hollywood has seen in years. And let's be honest, wouldn't that be just the kind of drama this town lives for?